You're listening to the Pace Radio Network, here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Hello and welcome to the Mushy Moment with myself and my awesome co-host, Reverend Cindy. We're here live today on Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 on paceradio.net, CBG TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Boxcast, Roku, and Firestick. How you doing, Cindy?
I'm good. Good. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good. I hear you're on an adventure.
Just a bit.
What you been doing?
I am just outside of Saskatchewan at the moment.
And you're on your way where?
Well, I'm on my way home to Nova Scotia, of course. From Vancouver, well, Richmond. I was up at your place, and I went up and of course I did a whole bunch of psychedelic medicine. Picked up the van that I bought and eventually started my trek home and drove through the Rocky Mountains, which was gorgeous. Stopped in Edmonton. Went to a cannabis festival, met up with some family, ran into it. I made a new friend and had a sesh in where were we? The Canadian Tire parking lot. And then I got here to just outside of Saskatchewan. I went and grabbed supper with a friend that I made in Vancouver. And meanwhile, another friend showed up and we hotboxed the van, of course, legally. It was parked as a camper, not going anywhere. So everything I did was legal. We sat out there in the back of the van and enjoyed the fact that it was a camper, and it was fantastic. So that was just, it's been great. And I'm hoping that this kind of trend continues if I can find people across Canada in the stops that I take.
Nice.
Yeah.
I found out.
How have you been? Are you enjoying a quiet house?
It has been pretty quiet. I've been spending a lot of time with my puppy, though.
Yeah.
We've just been hanging out because she's going to turn 18 in a week. So I just keep buttering her up, getting her all ready, because I'm going to get one of those shiny little pointy hats and a thing, and I'm going to make her a little liver cake. And I'm going to do a little Instagram of her, happy birthday to you. It'll be awesome.
I have no doubt. I can't wait. I can't wait. That'll be fantastic.
Okay, I got to quit eating the blueberries because we're live here. And it's horrible, but it's blueberry season and blackberry season right now. And
oh yeah, there are blackberries everywhere. Does the city literally plant them everywhere? Because it seemed to be up and down almost every road.
No, those blackberries that are there are a British blackberry, apparently, that weren't native to here, that overran everywhere. So
people seem to pick them and eat them, though.
Oh, when I was just coming home here, it's what is it? Just driving around the corner, and there are people out just on the side of the road everywhere. I do it when I'm walking Mika now. There's a bunch of big blackberry bushes there, and I'm just like, oh wow, look, I'm one of the tall people. I can get these ones.
Yeah.
So
we have I'm really excited for this guest today. I feel completely and utterly unprepared because of course I've been traveling. So, but we have a phenomenal.
Three of us.
It'll work just great. As you know, over the last month, we have had Steve's daughters on, giving them opportunity to tell their story. It has been moving and emotional. Even just saying the words now, whew, incites emotion. They have touched our hearts, and we all pray for them and hope for the best. And they have been candid, and it's been beautiful, even though it's been hard. It's yeah, and you know, I've had a lot of comments, and you've been there for these comments too. A lot of people are wanting to follow their story and see what the next chapter is, and they have expressed hopes that we bring them back on periodically just to check in with them, and I think that's a phenomenal idea.
Yes,
but today, Sword, go ahead.
Well, you know, while we were doing those, you had quite a interesting idea, and you know, we discussed how these videos can possibly help people, and the candidness, and you know, the just the interaction within our family and our family dynamic. And you said, hey, would their mother Marnie, you know, be interested in coming on to do a show? And I said, I don't know, but we can find out. And she actually said yes and was interested, which I think is great, because not only do the girls have a lot to share and talk about addiction and recovery and how it is for them in it, but both Marnie and I have stuff that, you know, we can share as parents of you know, people that have been in that routine for as long as they have. And
Yeah.
I'm actually honored that she said yes, because just the fact that her and I will be able to be on here and do this creates a cognitive dissonance for anybody that says separated parents can't do that. And there's a lot, I know there's a lot that think that.
Before the show, when you guys were carrying on, I was just sitting here like this, just watching you. It was amazing to watch the two of you carry on. And I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I can see the girls in both of them plain as day. Because I've had the honor of not just interviewing with your girls, I've had the honor of meeting both of them. And they're very bright-hearted, beautiful young ladies. Like, I mean, no matter what they have to deal with, they still have so much love about them. And that's because of you and your you know, their mom. You guys have done a wonderful job instilling that love into them.
Wow, thank you very much. And I'm going to bring Marnie in because I'm sure she would like to be here while we're talking about this. Welcome, Marnie. How are you doing?
Welcome, Marnie.
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you.
We didn't. I don't know. We didn't really have.
No,
much.
what we. I mean, our normal first question kind of doesn't really apply here.
Because our normal first question is, so how did you get to this place in well, it worked. How did you get to the place in the healing that you've achieved from where we were when it all exploded?
That's a really open question.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a funny answer too, because I mean, I'm still healing. It's never ending, because there's always more stuff happening. But a few things that Steve had said to me going through this has helped me a lot, actually. Just the biggest one was always worrying that, you know, I'm going to get that phone call. And that was always my worry. And he said to me one day, you know, they could walk out and get hit by a bus, or they could, you know, like anything could happen. So you shouldn't be worried about that every day, because that can happen to anyone at any moment. So it was kind of like that, but the way he says it. And that actually really affected me a lot. He probably doesn't even know this, but it helped. It really helped me sort of heal and realize that, yeah, there's not much I can do about it like anyone else. So why even, put it in my mind?
Yeah.
So a few things like that. In the beginning, we used to go to a parent meeting at Westminster House. Am I allowed to say that? And that helped me a lot too, to see other parents. And I remember sitting there and people asking, "Oh, how long have you guys been married?" And we're like, "No, we're divorced." And then we're like, people are just looking at us, because I remember a couple being there at one point, and they had to sit across the room from each other. They didn't speak. And to me, it was brutal. I'm like, I don't know what I would have done without Steve through all of this. I'd probably be, locked up in the psychiatric ward because, we did lean on each other a lot through this. We're lucky that before all this happened, we were friends. We've managed to be that way throughout our children's lives, doing what's best for them, right?
Because you guys were actually divorced before the girls, long before the girls ever discovered anything. Yeah.
They were 3 when we separated. They were 3. My son was a year and a half. We didn't actually bother with that until I had actually met someone thinking I might get married. So I started the whole process and did it, but didn't end up working out, and I didn't get married. But and I still have the name. That's something I had asked for when we divorced, because the kids were little. And I still have his name, actually. But legally.
Yeah, you're a family. So, to keep the same name as your children, which to me makes sense. Right?
Yeah, it was good, especially traveling. Like, we did travel a few times, and just while they were in school, it was easier to have their name.
I can't even. That you mentioned that couple at the meeting that were angry.
Yeah.
Could you imagine trying to deal with the girls or your child's addiction and not have somebody else? So the other person is one of the only people that can understand what's going on and what your circumstance is, because as well, and to not have that other person to lean on, and to be angry and spiteful about it.
Which probably doesn't help the addict either. Doesn't help your child, that's for sure.
Well, no, and like Cindy said, she watched our banter and she saw the girls in us, right? Because in moments they will show essence of me, in moments they'll show essence of you. Now, if I'm angry and mad and I think I hate you, then when they show me that reflection, I'm going to put that on them.
Yeah.
I can't not put that on them and only put it on you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the biggest reason why I wanted to do this, was to help people. If I can help one person, then it's worth it. I was a little leery because our son, is distant from our family. And I thought, oh, if he sees this, he's going to just hate me for it. But, I have to do what I feel is right. And I would love to be able to help someone, because having that anger, it's not only hurting you, but it's hurting everyone around you. And, I feel very blessed and lucky that we have this relationship, and I we don't hate each other. In fact, we love each other. I love him as a dad. I don't know what I would have done without him. Like I said, to deal with all of that on my own, I'd be a basket case. My family was pretty good in the beginning, but, as the years went by, they, it's hard.
Tiring even for the parents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is. Yeah. It's a never-ending cycle.
So you say a piece of advice that you would have would definitely be to put those differences aside and work with a partner or an ex-partner, and work together to help your child and support your child.
100%.
I've only known Steve for a couple of years now, but from the outside, it is undeniable that you two do a lot to support your kids, you know, and it's quite beautiful to see. Like, I mean, I'm coming from both, you know, being the addict and the parent of, it's beautiful to see that you are so loving and caring with them. It's very important.
Well, it's hard. I mean, I've seen where parents walk away, and I honestly don't know how they do it. I mean, I've definitely backed away a lot, probably more than I ever have, but I've done that for myself because what they do, I can't control. You know, there's nothing I can do about it, and it's taken a long time to get to that point. But they're almost 29 years old, so it's time for me to like put my life in front of everything else. And that's where I'm at in my life right now, is I have to think about me and what I want in my life and stop being there for everyone else. You know, always the phone call with the traumas, and it's just never ending. And I get that less and less. And now I get calls where just, you know, I love you, Mom, and I miss you, and, you know, that kind of thing. And that's what I want, because there's nothing I can do about it. They have to make those decisions. And I pray every day that they do, but you know,
and you know, you're right. Your life should, you know, and it wouldn't, no matter what they were doing right now. Like, if they're almost 29, it's time for you to live your life. And not to say that if they didn't have a phone call and you knew that, you know, they needed your help, you'd be there. You know, like, because like that's what we do as parents of older children. We go and we live our life, but then if they really need us, then we're there.
It's just not it's just not the rescue mode anymore, you know, where you want to rescue them and save them. Now it's more, you know, just all I can do right now is love them. That's all I can do, you know, and pray every day that it changes. But, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I use the word advice. I mean, is there advice that you would give to a parent that has now found out, like, you know, is there something that you look back on and say, I would do that differently? Or, you know, I like the way I did that and it helped. You know, I hear that the fact that you guys worked together helped a lot. But is there something else that you would tell, you know, another mom that just found out their child was, you know, in active addiction? So you're looking at you when you found out, and what advice would you give that person?
Wow. That's a hard one. There's so many different things. It depends on the age too. I think, like, I know when they were teenagers, I actually had suggested that they go to this like farm in Kelowna, and it just never ended up happening. And it's something I look back on and wish, okay, maybe if they had gone there, maybe things would have changed. Maybe I could have moved. But I actually had someone ask me that once. They know the girls and I know her very well, and her daughter was going down that road. And I said, you know what, move, get her out of there. You know, yes, you can find that anywhere you go, but sometimes a change works. And it did. It worked for her. They moved cities and schools and everything else. And now she's an amazing person doing amazing things. So, you know, it's kind of an individual thing. It's not just a one thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just say, do this, but talk to people. Don't keep it in, you know, that just kills you. You know, the stress caused a lot of personal, physical things to me, you know, and that's what I wanted to mention, because I know this whole show is about the microdosing and all of that. And during this whole time of our girls, I started to lose a lot of weight, which I thought was mostly stress. I found out later I had a thyroid issue. And so Steve actually had put together this whole thing for me. And it's great. You know, it's been really helpful, helping me a lot, so I don't have to go on meds. My only problem with it is, you know, it gets expensive. And, like, you know, with the regular medication, it's paid for. So, I mean, you know, that would be a nice thing that they could do if they could do that. But so I that's the only issue I ever see with it, is some people just can't afford to do it. But it's a definite, it's amazing.
So, where the difference is if you talk about.
I was just gonna say, we're talking about, like, what she's on. What is she on? I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep talking, because if I don't, like, we're just gonna keep talking over each other. It's funny.
I know.
No, you froze up.
What products are you taking? I mean, like, are you microdosing like throughout this, and as well as doing other supplements?
It's like he gave me like 6 different things, so I'm not really sure what they all are. I just take them. To be honest,
I don't have my book here. I know for sure it's the Super C Veg, the Poly Shield.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, is it not the greens, the berries, and the it's the gut restore, the Mito and the glute force, right?
I think so. Yeah. It's because in the beginning it was like so many that I had to take every day. It was hard, but I'm a person that doesn't even take Tylenol. Like I take maybe an ibuprofen once in a while if I'm in super bad pain, but I don't like pills. I don't like pharmaceuticals at all, and not because I'm considered a normie in that world, but because I don't care about that. I just don't like it in my body, right? So when this all happened and he introduced me to this, it's, I'm actually going to go see my doctor this month to get another check and see how it's doing. And I can guarantee it's doing well. So it's helped a lot, and I do wish I could have had it when my mom was sick. There's different things for different people, but my mom had cancer, and she wouldn't, we even wanted to make her brownies or do something to help her, and she wouldn't take any of it. She didn't like how it made her feel and all of that. So, she's old school, and, I really wish I had that when she was around, because I maybe would have helped her last a lot longer. Right. Miss her very much.
I got to get you more Super C Veg. If you got an appointment coming up real soon, we should double you up on that, because that's the thyroid thing that fixes that right up in a hurry.
Yeah, because he's retiring. So, of course, like all doctors, he's pretty good. He's a good doctor, but he's retiring. And so now I'm not going to have a doctor. So I thought I better go in and see him before he, get everything done.
Yeah, get everything checked. That's for sure. That's for sure. So, I mean, I actually have a lot of questions. Like, I mean, how old were the girls when you found out that you had something to worry about?
Well, when they were about 15, 16, they were kind of experimental. I mean, a lot of people go do that in their teenage years. I didn't really think it was a huge problem. I didn't realize
How old were they when they started getting booted from the schools? Because they were honor roll.
Yeah. It was high school, grade 11.
Because grade 12, by grad, I was going, man, there's a problem.
Well, and I couldn't even believe that they actually graduated and they did well. Like, Katie barely went to school. She'd just go in and ace all the tests. Like, ace it, like 98% kind of thing. She's so smart. And Jessie too. And they were actually both in extra things. Like, Jessie was doing, hairdressing. Yeah, and Katie was doing culinary arts. So they were, I tried to keep them as busy as possible. I mean, it was hard because I worked, right? So, and at that point I was working a lot. So, by the time I got home, and I think that's why Katie became a cook, because I never cooked. I'm not the best. I'm trying. I'm a lot better than I used to be, but she got tired of my cooking. So she's like, screw this. I'm going to go become a cook, right? So she, they would start dinner and they were good that way. But I guess when we found out, what happened was I was living in a complex with lots of people there and nosy people. And they would tell Steve, they're going to be at mom's. And then they tell me I'm going to be at dad's. So I would, I had a boyfriend at the time. So whenever I didn't have the kids, I'd go see him. So they knew this. So they would tell us this, and then I'd leave, and then they'd party. And eventually we found out, and I knew it was starting to get a little bit, it wasn't right. But to be honest, the first time I realized that they actually had a problem was after the dog attack. I went to go see them and they weren't expecting it. And when I walked in, they were snorting the pills. And I just thought, whoa, okay, this isn't like, why are you doing that? I didn't understand it. I didn't even know you could do that. Why don't you just take it? I don't know. Why do you have to snort it? I guess it's more instant. But yeah, so from that day on, it sort of started to get really bad. And then they had moved into the apartment really close to where I am. And there was a few times it was really bad. And we had to, I'd call Steve and he'd take them and try and detox them. I'd take my grandson. We took him out of there many times.
Took our grandson out of there.
Yeah, we had to take him out, to make him safe. It was funny because
at that point, the father was also in addiction with him. So there was it was everybody was doing their thing.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to.
He has to be removed from this.
Yeah, and actually a big shout out to the other grandmother because she did a lot. She was amazing, and she's wonderful for what she did. I'll never be able to thank her enough for it. But yeah, it got to be pretty scary. And then, so basically that was the first time I thought this is a problem, and I wasn't sure if it was from that or from before. And, I was trying to figure it all out in my head, but I kind of realized that they'd been doing stuff for a while. Because Katie had overdosed. I think she was 17, and somebody spiked her drink. And Jessie had called me, and at this point, my niece and her boyfriend at the time were living with me. So, he had first aid. So we went to go get her, and I just thought she was drunk. Okay. Well, I did that when I was young. I've gone home drunk, and I'm a pretty mellow person, so I didn't really get mad or anything, but so we brought her in, and then she just started to it's the first time I saw it, she started to foam at the mouth, her eyes were rolling in the back of her head, and it was really scary. And he said to me, we got to take her to the hospital right now. So we took her, and she was out until morning. And I sat with her all night, and it was right around grad season. And honestly, it was the scariest thing because there was kids coming in, every hour that had overdosed. And it was just crazy. And I remember when she woke up, because she was it's not funny, but it's kind of funny now. But she woke up and she's like, where am I? Where the hell am I? Why do I have a diaper on? Because they had put this on her, right? Because she is passed out. So, but she woke up, and, I took her home, and it was, that kind of ricocheted, because Katie was always, especially Katie, she was always one that was extreme. She wouldn't just smoke pot. She'd do the shatter shit, which I call it shatter shit. And, then she, not just drinking, but we would mix drinks when we were young, but they would just drink the whole bottle, shooting it. Right. Yeah. Oh. And, so it got to everything was extreme. So she'd go, and then she started in on the ecstasy and all this other stuff. And there was issues in the school where they had done it, and her friend overdosed with her. And she was okay, but her friend overdosed. She was fine. But the school called, and Steve calls me and he's like, you got this one. I'm like, oh, thanks. Can you not come with me? So I had to go to the school and get her. And that was when she got kicked out of Burnett. And I think it was Burnett. So she ended up back in Hugh Boyd or something.
She got kicked out of the previous school, and I took care of that one.
Yeah. So you're like, this one's on you. You got this one.
Well, this is when we're starting to go, there's something going on.
It is.
Yeah, there's stuff going on. So they were fairly young. It's been about 10 years of it now, or more, because they were about 17, I'd say, when the first time she overdosed. And yeah.
And that's a good moment to take a break. I think.
Oh, yes. It's break time. Time to check out our sponsors and pay some bills. You're here with us live on the Mushy Moment on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Boxcast, cbgtv.com, paceradio.net, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partners 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga, Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Let's share Pace everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Welcome back to the Mushy Moment, streaming live to you here at paceradio.net, cbgtv.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Boxcast, and Roku and Fire Stick. We're back.
We're back. Welcome back. We are back, and we are chatting with Marnie. Marnie is, of course, as if you've been watching the first half, the girls' mom. The girls being Katie and Jessie, who we interviewed over the past month, and we are hearing a mom side of the story. And we heard, you told us about being called to schools when she overdosed. Yeah.
She didn't actually overdose at the school. Her friend did. She was at a party that's where she overdosed. Yeah.
That's after she
Once
had her.
she
That was her first time. That was the first time. Probably about 100 now, I'm sure.
Oh, well, there was, what was it, 34 that one time when she overdosed with carfentanyl. So that one time was 34 hits in Narcan, just that one round. So
the
well
one.
well over 100 now. Oh.
Yeah.
You know what I found interesting is that when you said, you know, it was kind of after the dog attack is when you started to go, ooh, you know, I think we have a problem here. And for me, when the dog attack happened and they first were in the news and being hailed as heroes, the first thing I was doing was going, you guys need to get into recovery right now while you're heroes. This will go great. Get in now. I was already going recovery. And I had no idea what the fuck I was talking about or what get into recovery meant.
Wow.
Was it ever a shit kicking finding out how that worked?
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. Yeah. I mean, you know, it all kind of played out the way it was supposed to. And I'm still proud of all the times that they've been sober. You know, I'll say that.
Yeah. And honestly, like Mark coming forward and sponsoring them for that round through their their most successsiul round. Really.
Well, I wanted to actually say a big shout out to Todd because he hasn't been mentioned, and I personally believe with all my heart that he's the one that got them to go. It was just something about the way he talked, what he said, being a recovered addict himself. I can't thank him enough for trying so hard, because I remember when I first met him, and then a little while later he said, you know, I looked at you and I just knew that you were a good person. I could see the pain in your face the day I met him. And he you know, they didn't want to go. They weren't interested in doing that at all. I mean, we forced them basically. I mean, we did the intervention on the street on the Surrey Strip. And I had, you know, my sister, my niece, and a few other people there. But, you know, once we got to the restaurant, he sat with them for a long time. And they didn't go right away. But
don't forget Carolyn.
And Carolyn too, yeah. But I just think, you know, whatever it is that they both said, all those things they said, I think it really got to them. So it was the start of it. And even though they're still in addiction, it gave them a lot of tools to work with. And personally, that's probably why they're still alive. That's what I think that every day, you know, and I'm thankful for all the people that helped. And
yeah, they practice a lot of recovery in their addiction.
They do. I mean, you know, because they're, you know, they're not typical. We were talking about this before, like they're not the typical addict, you know, they still care. They still help. You know, like listening to them talk, like when Jesse's segment went, you know, that was one of the first things she said is anybody who wants to reach out to me. And she said her name, her full name. I'm on Facebook, reach out to me. And to me, that's amazing because most people that are in addiction, they just care about themselves and their next high. And they still really care about people. You know, they have such a great heart. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, do they?
It's amazing.
Well,
yeah. It's a heart that shines bright.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Katie got all mad because she left her stuff with somebody that she met down on the street and asked them if they could look after her stuff while she went to go do something, and got mad because they stole her stuff. And it's like, you're in addiction on the street and you left your stuff with an addict you don't know. What makes you think they're still going to be there?
Yeah. I said that to her. I'm like,
I wouldn't do that to them.
Yeah, because she doesn't understand that. She still doesn't really understand that they're not your friends. They're not, you know, and these are the repercussions of the choices you make. You know, your stuff's going to get stolen if you're going to do that because they're desperate. You know, most people in addiction are pretty desperate. I was just driving by the store and there was, you know, about 3 or 4 of them. And one guy was laying right on the sidewalk. You know, and I see this a lot. I go downtown to see my dad and it's really bad down there right now. And, I used to walk by and think, especially the young people, I would think, why don't you just go get a job? I had all these thoughts, wrong thoughts. And going through all of this, I've realized like there's somebody's kid, there's somebody's mom, dad, aunt, uncle, whatever, right? They're people and they're in need of help. And some of them aren't even on drugs. They're just mental health. There's no help for them.
Well, the problem is if you're mental health and homeless, there's people that'll get you on the drugs.
Yeah. That's so true.
Strip.
Yeah.
Half of those people should have been having they need mental health support.
Yeah. And they don't have it. It's not just about getting them off the drugs. It's about why are they on the drugs? They want to be numb for a reason. So they need to find out what that trauma is.
It's one thing to detox them, but then it's another thing to actually help them heal.
Yeah. That's the part. Right? Once they detox, that's when they need the help. Yeah. The big time they need help.
That was one of the first lessons we learned.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, go to detox.
Yeah.
Okay. How come you're high as fuck again? You've only been out like a week.
Yeah.
Back to detox. And then it's like, oh, we need a recovery house. And then it's just a farm load of recovery houses that are, like Jesse said, they leave the crack on the pillow so they can catch you and kick you out.
Well, I remember that time Katie was talking about how this girl locked her in the room and started going on about Jesus Christ is your savior and all this stuff.
Oh, they tried to have an exorcism on her.
Yeah. And I remember her calling. Because we went and got her. I think we both went. We went and got her and took her out of there. It's like, okay, well,
it was a little traumatic for
so much for getting her help there. I mean, some of them are pretty bad.
Well,
that
one that the lady running the house was 6 months clean on crack, and yet when I was down on the strip, I watched her pick up. She wasn't clean. She was running a recovery house while she was getting high on crack.
Well, they should be testing the people that are running them. That's what I think.
Yeah, I don't honestly.
Should be more regulations.
It's been a long time since those days. Hopefully things are better. But I can say that with the last couple of rounds that I've watched them go through, I don't think it's a lot better.
No.
There is, but no knocking, because it's levels. And when you get to the levels of
the last one that Jesse was at seemed to be fairly good. They seem to be running that one okay. She stayed there for a long time. I went there a few times and it seemed pretty legit. But, it's kind of just, you're lucky if you get into one of those. It's not easy. Like they said, it's not easy to get into. You got to really be on it. And that's the hard part for the addicts, because half the time they don't have a phone. Oh, I lost it. Sure you did. You probably sold it, or broke it, one or the other. How many phones do they go through? I mean, millions of phones. But
that was something we actually used to replace in the beginning. We'd replace the phones.
Yeah.
Want to be able to talk to them. And then you realize, oh, not all of them are getting broken. Some of them are being sold.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, we can't bother replacing them.
I used to pay for their phone. I paid for their phone for years. I probably could go around the world a couple of times with the amount of money I spent on that. And finally, then one day I just said, that's it. You're on your own. I'm cutting you both off. I can't do this. I just can't do it anymore.
Codependent, no more.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you think in the beginning, I guess that's another answer to that question you said, Cindy. You think in the beginning you're actually helping, by paying for their phone or bringing them food or any of that stuff. And you're not helping at all. As much as you want to do that, it doesn't help them. I mean, I got to a point like Steve, I would do what makes me feel okay. Like if I go see them, I still go through McDonald's or something. I'll always do that because it's food. And there you go. I've done that too, where I Ubered pizza to their house. I've sent Ubers to get Katie out of a situation, but I've gotten to a point now where I can't do any of that anymore. So I've totally got my boundaries up. And like Jessie said, she was pretty mad at me for some of those times because I never said no. And I had to, it changed me. It really did. It changed me. It made me learn how to say no. And I still have a hard time with it because I feel guilt. But I have to, and right now I'm not in a position to help anyone. I'm gotta help myself right now. It's hard. Right now, things are tough out there for everyone. So it's a tough go.
Yep. Especially in Vancouver, the cost of living, you're even out in White Rock. It's even more expensive out there.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. Yeah, I mean, I work out here. That's why I'm out here. But it's actually a nice change just to get out of Richmond. But I really like it out here. It's beautiful. It's good. But yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey with them. And, unfortunately, it's made my son very, very distant. I haven't seen him for almost 2 years.
Mm.
So it's kind of hard. I've got 4 kids and I don't really see any of them. So it's been a long journey, and a shout out to my nieces who helped me through my Mother's Day and Christmas and stuff. Although I have to say, they do stuff still, like Katie's made me so many different things, and she doesn't forget. This year I didn't get anything, but I got a phone call. That's what matters. And then on my birthday, Jessie, she texts me and she's like, "Happy Mother's Day." I'm like, it's my birthday, not Mother's Day. But hey, I'll take it. At least it's showing something. But yeah, it hurts. And I missed that a lot. It's, I think about it all the time. And especially when you see people with their kids and the relationships they have, it makes me really sad. It's
pretty much, it just kind of exploded when the dog attack happened, when the Surrey strip thing happened. Life just exploded.
Yeah, I learned a lot during that time. I honestly, things that I don't wish anyone could see. It was pretty awful. I mean, I remember going there. It was fall and it was cold and raining. And I actually took my boots and socks off and gave them to Katie and went home with bare feet. Steve used to bring coffee and donuts. Like, we used to do so much. And they were right about that they had more of a community system going then. And people would watch out for each other, but it was scary. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. And I have like a huge fear of needles. And I remember looking down and just seeing them all over the ground thinking, okay, I'm going to pass out now. I'm going to faint. But
when was your first visit? What's the first visit there you remember?
It was probably with you. One of the times that we were looking for them, I think. I mean, it's just so many times. I don't know if I can remember the first one.
Isn't that funny, eh? Because I was just trying to remember the first one. I remember I hit a point where I was pretty broken.
Yeah.
And I phoned and just said, "Can you help me? I need help. I'm dying."
Yeah, I think you went there a few times before I went. And then, I think you called and I'm like, "Yeah, let's go. If you're with me, I'll go with you." And actually one of my best friend took me out there as well. Twice, I think. And kudos to you, BFF. But I mean, and he's a big guy. He's one of my best friends. So I felt safe. But, really there, you can feel safe because they know why you're there. As soon as they see you pull up, people knew who we were, right? Like, oh, there's Justin, Katie's mom and dad.
Dad's down here. Where's the twins? Dad's here.
Yeah, and we brought clothes. I gave them sleeping bags and blankets, and I think Steve actually even went out and bought a big tent at one point. But that's the thing. It's such a hard thing because they're your children, and you want to do what you can to protect them and help them, and that none of that helped. Really. I mean, in the end, it didn't help at all because we were enabling, and we didn't even know that's what we were doing because I didn't even know that word. It took years to understand what that all meant. and to actually step back and be like, I can't help you anymore. And it was the hardest thing that day when they went to the strip and they called and wanted to stay with me. And it's like, I had roommates. I didn't trust them to steal from me. So I was, I just couldn't do it. And it was the first time I ever said no. And it was, I don't think Jessie understands that. Like, I cried myself to sleep, not just that night, but I don't know, hundreds.
She doesn't hold any of, that she doesn't hold.
Oh, I know.
Against you.
But I had to. I had no choice but to do that. I wanted to. Even when she actually asked me recently if she could move in with me because I'm living alone, and I said I can't do it. You get a few months under your belt, we'll talk again, but you got to be sober. I don't trust you to come home and my TV's gone or something. They never really did too much with that, but because they were always really good at talking me into giving them money, because I'm, it was hard for me to say no. It really is.
We did a lot of enabling till we learned what enabling was.
I think a lot of it was for my experience in my life. Like, I have a 32-year-old son that passed away when he was 3 months. And so when they were born, it was kind of like God was like, sorry about that. Here's 2, and I just wanted to protect them so badly because I was so afraid for so long that something would happen. And I just can't even fathom living longer than any more of my kids. It's just horrible situation. So I already know the feeling of losing a child. So I can't, it's the worst pain you could ever feel in your life. And I don't wish it upon anyone. Any parent out there, I would love to be able to talk to anybody that needs questions or just someone to talk to, because, we've been through quite a bit, and I'm not, a counselor, but I could be a friend and tell you my experience for sure. I would love that. It's so hard, and like I said before, every situation is different. So you can't just say, oh, this will work. You got to do this and this and this, because that doesn't always work for certain people. It's, it's not just black and white. There's lots of gray areas, and you have to kind of figure out what's best for them,
But in the end, it comes down to that same thing on the airplane. Make sure you're putting your oxygen on before you're trying to put theirs on.
Exactly.
Save them.
Yeah.
By example, and love them.
And you sure tried. Kudos to you. I don't know a more dedicated father. Honestly, I'm very, very grateful that they are his, that they're his kids. I don't regret that in 1 second, because most people walk away, and he just embraced it and did whatever he could to help them. It wasn't always easy. We had our moments. I always think in the beginning when we were married, we were just 2 people that came together that just brought out the worst in each other.
We triggered each other. We both suffered trauma. To begin with, we didn't. It wasn't until the stressors came in, the job got heavy, we had the 3 kids, the stressors came in, we started to trigger each other. I didn't know back then that I was abusive. I had no idea that the things I said like that, that was me being me in the environment I'd grown up in. Now I can see that. I have the ability to have a very sharp and cutting tongue. And I used it back then.
And the hard part is I'm a very sensitive person, very sensitive. So when someone yells at me like that, which is weird because my parents didn't really do that. So I don't know where it comes from, but I just cower, and
I would blow up.
Yeah.
I push it down, explode. But that's how it's done, right?
But then you came up to me afterwards and said, if your parents can do it, so can we. And that's exactly what we did, because my parents, it's another whole story. I could write a book.
My cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents were my cognitive dissonance. I went, if they can do it, it's possible. My buddy Mark, he lost his daughter Guinevere, but you know, he was a massive influence on in my life, on my anger, and he once said to me, we were talking, and he said, I don't understand your guys' anger. You yell, you scream, you get mad. Some of you even punch each other. He said, I grew up in a house where people didn't do that.
Mhm.
I was like, bullshit. You got an older brother and an older sister. You got swore at, you got smacked, he was like, no, nobody raised their voice. Nobody hit anybody. And then like 2 years later, and I'm at a Christmas dinner, and I'm in helping his mom in the kitchen. And this has been rattling in my head for 2 years. So I asked her, yeah, Mark said that you guys grew up this way and that he'd never been smacked or yelled at, and that the brother and sister had never, and his mom was horrified that I would ask. Because it wasn't in their realm to be what was my normal. My normal didn't exist in their world. And their normal didn't exist in mine. But in that moment, I realized if it can be done, I can do it. So now I need to learn how. And I'll tell you, it's been a hell of a journey, because that was easily 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Conversation happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a long time now.
You know, for her, for her parents, they worked together. They loved each other. They were okay. Yes, they had their differences in the beginning when the separation happened, but they learned to come together. And you know.
Mm-hmm. And then I ended up lucky, because I ended up with 2 sets of parents.
Sorry,
right?
I was going to say that again.
I ended up pretty lucky because I had 2 sets of parents. So, you know, I had my mom and my stepdad, who I call dad quite often, especially when I lived there for a while in Calgary with them. And then my dad remarried, and I called him dad too. So that's that. But
we're getting to that time where I have to ask, you know, are there any final thoughts? Is there any last piece of advice that you might want to give to a parent who is in that situation of finding out that this is going on in their family? You know, what would you say to them? You know, like what is there just one more thing that you might want to add to what you've already said?
Yeah, I would just say reach out to, you know, other parents, to community, to groups. You know, there's a lot out there. You can even do them online. You can go into the group one meetings online if you don't want to go to an actual meeting, but they help. They help a lot. But reaching out, don't try to take it all on.
Doing his thing. Is Todd still, are they allowed to reach out to Todd and stuff like that?
Who?
Todd. Are people, is he still doing
that?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Intervention.
Okay, well,
reach out to us, because Marnie and I have resources.
We do have connections, and yeah, that's my biggest thing. Reach out. Don't try and take it all on yourself, because it won't work.
Okay. With that being said, we are at the end of the show. So you're supposed to, you have the line.
Hang on. It's that time again. Thank you for joining us here on the Much Moment with my co-host Cindy, myself, and our awesome guest, Marnie. We're proud to be coming to you live from paceradio.net, cbgtv.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Boxcast, Roku, and Fire Stick. See you next week. More exciting.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga, Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at Pace Radio.